Hi everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. The recipe we're making is chilaquiles verdes, green chilaquiles that you should know by heart. And the first thing that we have to tackle is the sauce that's for this one. Now I'm starting with our roasted tomatillo base, which I've made in another video. So if you haven't seen that video, click on the link below and you will see the simple procedure for turning out this base. Now the next thing that we're going to do is to heat a pan, because we're going to be making our chilaquiles here in a 4-quart saucepan. And I'm going to add that roasted tomatillo base to the pan here. I had been heating it up a little bit before so that it would start the cooking right away. And we're going to add an equal amount of chicken broth. If you want your chilaquiles to be completely vegetarian, then use vegetable broth for this. You do need some kind of richness from the broth in this. So basically we're taking that roasted tomatillo base, which is quite thick, and thinning it out to what I would call a very light consistency, almost brothy consistency tomatillo sauce there. Okay, so we're going to let that come to a simmer now. I'm going to throw in herbs. I'm going to do it in the very classic Central and Southern Mexican way with beautiful epazote. You see that in that part of Mexico, they use a lot of epazote with tomatillos. So that natural tanginess of tomatillos gets the added dimension of the flavor of this resinous herb. When you smell it, you might find it very difficult to describe because there's really nothing else like it. I'm pulling the leaves off of this and I'm going to throw them right in here. Sometimes I like to put a lot of it in there. You can decide yourself. If you have no epazote, which here in Chicago is in every Mexican grocery store, but if you have none of that, feel free to put a big handful of cilantro leaves in there. I'm going to taste it and give it a taste for salt now, because the base of this had a little bit of salt in it, but just to get it started, when you taste tomatillos, because they're so tangy, it's a little hard sometimes to get the balance of salt right. So you just keep adding it little by little and tasting. And when it has that savory quality to it, that's when you've got the right amount of salt in here. Okay, so I think that's probably going to be about the right amount, but I will give it a second taste here once that's dissolved in. Again, I will emphasize that this is a very brothy sauce. One more little bit of salt to pull out that savoriness there. And now let's talk about the chips. So these are very sturdy chips. I will tell you, I have made chilaquiles with everything from simple, very thin Tostitos from the grocery store to very rugged tasting chips that come from a local tortilleria here. But those are the ones that, like in Central Mexico, where they don't do a lot of chipping and dipping. They instead, we use them as garnishes, and they just have a toothsome quality about them. You can use anything in between. The amount of cooking time will be really different on each one. My suggestion is start with a sturdy chip, not something that says thin and crispy in your local grocery store, but something that's a sturdy chip that you can find preferably from a local tortilleria. And we do it by weight, okay? Because every chip will be a different volume. Okay, we're starting with 8 ounces here. And so that's what it looks like, but that could be anywhere from, say, 8 cups of chips to almost 12 cups of chips, depending on how thin they are. When this comes to a simmer here, we are going to add the chips to it, and I'll show you exactly my method for cooking it. But we got to wait till this comes to a boil. I have a really nice boil going there, and I'm going to add the chips into this boiling stuff, like that. And then my next step here is to make sure that they're completely covered, not covered, but all nicely coated with the sauce that we have here. And I usually do that over the higher heat just to get this whole thing started. And once you've stirred the chips in here and made sure that they're all nicely coated, they should just be sticking a little bit above the sauce, but not much at all. And then we're going to turn this off and put this top on it. And then I'm going to wait for 4 minutes. And I'm going to tell you that a lot of people these days are literally just doing that and putting it on a plate. Then it's just hot chips and salsa. That's really kind of all you have there. I don't find that to be satisfying in the way that real chilaquiles are satisfying, because the true stuff, the stuff that I grew up on in Mexico, was just that beautiful balance of different, the middle ground between crispy and soft. There's a little bit of texture still left in it, but it really, really lovely texture. I'll show you, okay? I can only show it to you. I can't really even put it into words. So I'll come back in a couple more minutes. About 4 minutes is what I usually wait, and then I'll show you what the texture is like. Okay, here it is. You have to know that chilaquiles is like one of my favorite things on earth. When I've had a hard day, kind of only thing I want to eat is chilaquiles. It's my real comfort food. But you see, it's almost the consistency of a noodle here. So there's a portion of the chilaquiles on the plate. Classic toppings are to put a big dollop of crema on there. It's really a nice foil to the tanginess of the tomatillo sauce there. This is Mexican queso añejo, which tastes a lot like a Romano cheese, really. Or you could say Parmesan would be really good for this kind of a thing. And then just because I like it, I'm going to put a bunch of cilantro and onions on the top here, because I think it really does give a nice crunch and freshness to these chilaquiles. And then I've got some sunny side up eggs over here that I am going to slide on here, because this is a classic breakfast dish, or brunch kind of dish here. But that egg, oh my goodness, the texture that it adds, the beauty that this dish is for me, is just literally one of the best things in the world. Make these chilaquiles, make this a recipe that you know by heart.